going on, Jeromes? It's a beautiful Tuesday. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for 5 good questions. We should probably get the correct Chiron up. There we go. So 5 good questions, and you guys submitted them. Let's dive on in. So first up, George M. Hi, Andy. What's up? If we don't draft a quarterback of the future this year, are there any quarterbacks you like next year? You like that? So I think if Kirk got a 2-year deal with the Vikings, this could be a plausible situation. Whereas, hey, if you're giving Kirk a 2-year deal, there's probably going to be some decent money in that, and you're probably going to be all in on this season and addressing the trenches and getting, addressing other needs on this team. Could take precedent, even though this quarterback class is deep. But 2025, it's a trope where every single year, every single draft class, your next year's quarterback class is even better than this year's. Well, probably not the case this year, but that's not a knock on 2025. But Quinn Ewers going back to Texas, hook him for one more season. What was a big time deal? I think Quinn Ewers if he was in this class, I still think it would have been Williams, May, Daniels, win, play, show. I think Ewers would have been right behind them, and a pretty big gap between Ewers and, say, Nix and Penix and McCarthy, probably somewhere in there. So him, I think Ewers could win the Heisman this year. I really think that he could. Jackson Dart at Ole Miss. He's a lot of fun. He's a dual threat. He's got good accuracy. I think that he and Lane Kiffin see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I think that he's a guy that could certainly shoot up draft boards. Shedeur Sanders, where if Sanders gets a decent offensive line, I think things could happen. And Sanders, I know that people will poo-poo him because of his pops and everything with Colorado, but I kind of like his cockiness. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. I feel like sometimes it's too much, with the showing off the watch to the school section. I don't even have my Apple Watch on. But he does have accuracy. He does throw for that anticipation. He's not a running quarterback per se, but he does have some mobility, and also he can drop some piss missiles. Like, I think that there's a lot to like about Shedeur Sanders, and also another year in Colorado, another year with hopefully a better offensive line, for God's sake, could certainly benefit him. Carson Beck with Georgia. Now, Beck does have prototypical size. He does have a strong arm. I would like to see him with a second year of starting at Georgia. Miller Moss. All right, so Miller Moss at USC, he was like a redshirt junior or something like that, and stuck behind Caleb Williams last 2 years. But Moss, who I believe is just an LA kid, but he came into the bowl game and just dropped dimes. And this was after Caleb Williams struggled all season in the offense, and maybe it was because he was playing hero ball and Miller Moss actually subscribed to the Lincoln Riley offense. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting at USC. Cam Ward at Washington State. He's certainly a guy that raised a lot of eyebrows this year, but there's talk about him declaring for the draft. I think he would have been a firmly late day 3 pick, but him going to Miami, it's just the U being the U. I think he has a chance to really bust out with 50-50 with Crystal Ball. Jalen Moreau, Alabama. I don't know. Like, early September, Jalen Moreau was very bad. Late season, Jalen Moreau was quite good. Now, can he put together a full season of it? We shall see. And also the fact that there's no Saban. All right, that's certainly going to be a major question mark with him. Frankly, I'm surprised that he didn't hit the transfer portal. And Connor Wegman, Texas A&M. Yeah, he got injured, except there are some scalable traits there to like. And, I mean, this is just a back-of-the-envelope scattershot. I mean, there's going to be several other quarterbacks that rise and fall heading into 2025. So, I mean, I think right now it's Ewers and everyone else. Next up. Harm's way. Do you think Kevin O'Connell should have given more opportunities to King Kene Nwangwu, as well as Dwayne McBride, the rookie 7th rounder, to see if they could have given a much-needed spark to the running game? I think yes. And Kene got a couple of carries. That's about it. McBride never got the time of day. But I feel like part of it is that Kevin O'Connell is very stubborn. Like, in his own way, he's a lot like Zimmer, where he will be bogged down and be loyal to a fault. And remember Kevin O'Connell when the Vikings were having all those fumbling issues early on season? It's like, oh, well, guys have got to stop fumbling or they're going to be sitting. Baloney. That was never going to happen, man. And Madison, Uh, how does Madison have that many carries and not score a touchdown all season? It's ridiculous. But Madison, they stuck with him, and again, I respect the loyalty to a degree, but when it just wasn't getting done, I don't know. I mean, there's loyalty and then there's stubbornness, and I think it was much more the latter last season. And then Cam Akers came in via the trade. He looked good for a hot second. Then they finally went to Ty Chandler, and I know they're going to say, well, Ty Chandler doesn't pass block very well. Madison wasn't doing great either. I don't know, man. But either way, like the Vikings are going to have some cap space to play with, even with the potential void years with Daniil and Kirk Cousins. And if they wanted to bring in Saquon or Josh Jacobs, like, I wouldn't be too upset. I'm not going to lie, even though that would fly in the face of Quasian analytics, but who knows? Yeah. Speaking of Kirko, Milo, can you explain all those orange numbers in Kirk Cousins' contract, the void years, and how that affects the team with or without him? With or without him. So, the void years happen when a player is not under contract at a certain date, and the date is rapidly approaching before free agency, before the franchise tag window. So Kirk Cousins could be out of contract, and his contract voids, and then his $28.5 million dead cap hit would come home to roost in 2024. Now, Kirk has redone his contract twice and added void years twice. So one of them was a signing bonus, one of them was a restructure. So the first go of it was part of the signing bonus. So they added 2 void years on top of that. So $6.25 million dead in 2024, $6.25 million dead in 2025, and then the restructure was $4 million per season over 5 years. Now, there's 2 more void years on the back end of the signing bonus, and there's 4 on the restructure. Now, if his contract does void, all of that comes home due in one season. But if he's extended for the Vikings, and they can even work this where his contract voids, but they still work out an extension, and then the void years will go back to being prorated. Because if he does re-sign and is a Viking 2024, those void year cap hits stay where they are. So it would be 6.25 plus 4 this year, so 10.25, 10.25 in 2025, and then 4 and 4 in 2026 and 2027 respectively, right? So it's a little bit of kicking the can, but with the cap continuing to go up and up precipitously, it's not that big of a deal. But if the Vikings do let Kirk Cousins go, 28.5 dead on the books, having your starting quarterback be on his rookie deal would be advantageous as you weather that storm for one season, or Russell Wilson on the league minimum, since he's guaranteed $39 million from the Broncos, could be palatable for one season. So, and if Kirk does resign, whatever new money he has, whatever new hits he has, is on top of the 10.25, 10.25, etc. Because every single dollar that you pay out has to be accounted for on the salary cap at some point. It just is always a question of when. But either way, like, if Kirk is back, they can make it work. If Kirk is gone, they can certainly make it work, because that $30 million cap space number that the spot rack has is factoring in Kirk 28.5 dead, Daniil 14 and change dead, Marcus Davenport 6.8 million dead. Great, wonderful. Cody Cock, do you think the NFC North is going to be the toughest division to beat the 2024 season years to come, considering all of the talent the Vikings, Lions, Packers, and Bears are getting? Lions fans are claiming another division title for 2024 season, which I believe it's anybody's. Skull Brother. Yes. So, yeah, I think for the foreseeable future, the NFC North is going to be the class of the NFL, where the Packers, I mean, Jordan Love does look pretty good. They were the youngest team in football. Their front seven is pretty damn ferocious. And if they actually get a defensive coordinator with 2 brain cells, I think they'll be good to go. The Lions are still a relatively young team. There is going to be a little bit of shifting on the roster, and they do have some cap space, but Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra and Ali McNeil are due for extensions. Jared Goff, is he going to be the guy? Who knows? And they are going to lose Ben Johnson, but the Lions are still going to be tough. The Bears, I don't believe in Poles and Eberflus, and also I think it's really stupid that they didn't go after Jim Harbaugh, but they do have the number 1 overall pick. They could get Caleb Williams. They could get whoever, and they could have their talisman at quarterback for many years to come. Also, they have the number 9 overall pick, so they could double dip where they get either quarterback and some edge help, or a quarterback or a tackle. Quarterback and a wide receiver. They could have. There's a lot of options for Chicago and for the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings. If Kirk Cousins stays healthy, the Vikings win the division last year. Full stop. A bajillion percent. That is true. And the Vikings. I mean, the roster. It's right there, especially offensively, especially when Hockenson gets back. All the pieces are there. Whether Kirk is a quarterback or they find the quarterback of the future, offensively, they're going to be good to go. Defensively, Florida's back for a second season is going to be huge. TBD what happens with Danielle Hunter, but they do need to rebuild that defensive line. They do need some help at cornerback. But other than that, I mean, this is going to, top to bottom, this is going to be the most competitive division in the NFL for a long time. Lastly, Arfrey, can you dive a little deeper on Kwesi's decision to acquire Hawk as well as make a statement with his contract, despite Try that again. Meanwhile, we have pillars at premium positions that this team drafted that can't seem to get locked in long-term deals. Seems strange to make a splash signing a tight end contract, but other in-house guys can't get deals. Well, I mean, I assume in-house guys, he's talking about Danielle, Justin Jefferson, Christian Darrisaw, who's eligible for a deal, but we'll see. But with Hockenson, so they traded for him at the trade deadline in the 2022 season. And if Irv Smith Jr. doesn't get hurt right before the trade deadline, I don't know if they make this trade. But it worked out for the Vikings. Hockenson put up great numbers, instant chemistry with Kirk Cousins, and he deserved that contract. Here's what happened. So at every single position, there's like a group of like 1 to... Actually, there's a group of like 3 to 7 players at a given position that are roughly at the same level. Tight end, I would say 5. But whoever is the highest paid player in NFL history of that position is whoever got paid most recently. I mean, the highest paid tight end in NFL history before Hockenson got paid was Darren Waller, right? So, I mean, just because, yeah, you could say Kelsey and Kittle should be up there too. I mean, they got their contracts earlier, and that's what happens. And Hockenson... they were betting on the come, and they were betting on him having a 100-catch, 1,000-yard season, which he was on pace for before Kirby Joseph blew up his freaking knee, man. But I don't see it as an aspersion on anyone else. I mean, Hockenson was just due for his contract. He was heading to his 5th-year option. The Vikings lowered his cap hit in 2023, which was going to be 9 and change because he was going to be on his 5th-year option. So they took care of him, and I think it's a good precedent. Now, obviously, they want to get something done with Jefferson. Obviously, hopefully they'll get something done with Danielle. We'll see what happens there. But I have no regrets with Hockenson. I mean, his knee injury was very unfortunate. It could put in jeopardy the start of his 2024 season. But he is elite. He is elite, and I'm glad that the Vikings have him locked up long term. But that's it. That's 5 good questions for this beautiful Tuesday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol, production value.